The studio is buzzing under the hot lights of the Patel Perspective, a primetime political commentary show known for its bold takes. The camera zooms in on Kash Patel, seated confidently behind a sleek glass desk. He wears a tailored suit, his expression sharp, eyes gleaming with conviction. Kash leans into the mic, voice rising with intensity. "This is what they don't want you to hear," he declares, waving a stack of papers for emphasis. Ibrahim Traoré, yes, the same Traoré hailed as a revolutionary, has some very uncomfortable skeletons in his financial closet. We're talking shady offshore accounts, untraceable transfers, and a silence that smells like guilt. Gasps ripple through the live audience. Some whisper, others exchange worried looks. "And let me be crystal clear," Kash continues, jabbing a finger at the camera. "I'm not making wild guesses here. Sources, credible ones, are raising serious red flags. It's not just corruption, it's betrayal. Betrayal of his own people. If this were happening in the West, he'd be in court already." A producer backstage scrambles toward the director. Did he just accuse a sitting African head of state of corruption and betrayal on live television? The director's face turns pale. He did, and it's airing in real time across 3 continents. A crew member, eyes wide, mutters, "That's an international incident waiting to happen." The on-air sign glows red as Kash wraps up with a cold stare into the camera. Some men rise with power. Others hide behind it. I'll let you decide which one Ibrahim Traoré is. The screen fades to commercial. In the control room, silence hangs like smoke. Then, phones start ringing. The early morning sun filtered through the tall windows of the presidential legal suite in Ouagadougou, casting long shadows across a mahogany conference table strewn with legal briefs, printouts, and a still-playing tablet. On its screen, a paused image of Kash Patel mid-rant, finger pointed at the camera like a man issuing a sentence. President Ibrahim Traoré stood stiffly at the head of the table, his jaw tight, brows furrowed with a cold fury. He wore his military fatigues, though his hands were clasped behind his back in the measured stillness of a man used to crisis, but not used to disrespect. His chief legal advisor, Madame Coulibaly, approached slowly, holding a leather folder filled with preliminary documentation. She had already watched the segment 3 times. Each time, it got worse. "This is the 4th U.S. network to rebroadcast the segment," she said carefully. "Over 1 million views in 12 hours. Translations are already circulating." Traoré stepped forward and pressed play. "Serious smoke around his finances, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's fire." The tablet speaker crackled. His own face stared back from the screen, framed by Patel's accusations, surrounded by conspiracy graphics and spinning dollar signs. He exhaled through his nose. "This is not journalism," he said, voice low and deliberate. "It is provocation. Strategic slander." Coulibaly nodded. "We can file a defamation suit in U.S. federal court." His statements go beyond commentary. They imply criminal activity, without proof. "Not imply," Traoré cut in. "He outright accuses me of betraying my people. That is character assassination." An assistant entered quietly, whispering into Coulibaly's ear before sliding a printed transcript of the broadcast onto the table. She scanned it, then turned back to the president. "We recommend a full legal offensive. Filing immediately. Seeking $90 million in damages for reputational harm, economic injury, and reckless international defamation." Traoré didn't flinch. "Make it clear. This is not about money. It is about dignity. They think I am a soft target because I led from Africa. They will learn otherwise." Coulibaly opened the folder and began to mark the necessary signatures with tabs. She looked up. "We'll serve Mr. Patel by morning." Traoré turned toward the window, gazing out across the Capitol. Behind him, papers rustled as pens clicked and legal history began to write itself. "And we will make headlines," he said, almost to himself. Let them watch. Flashing lights pulsed in the early morning fog outside the U.S. District Court in Washington, D.C. Dozens of reporters packed the courthouse steps, cameras pointed, mics outstretched. The sound of chattering journalists mixed with the chants of protesters on both sides of the barricades. Some held signs reading, "Defend free speech," and "Truth on trial." Others waved flags and signs with bold block letters, "Traoré deserves justice," and "No immunity for lies." A sleek black SUV pulled up, and the crowd surged forward. Kash Patel stepped out in a sharp navy blue suit, sunglasses on despite the overcast sky. He adjusted his collar as his legal team flanked him. He smiled, calculated, unbothered, as the swarm of press descended. "Mr. Patel," one reporter shouted, "how do you respond to the $90 million lawsuit from President Ibrahim Traoré? Do you regret the comments you made on air? Is this a free speech case or an international scandal?" Kash raised a hand to pause the noise. With cameras trained on him, he took off his sunglasses and tucked them into his jacket pocket. "Look," he began, his tone breezy but defiant, "this is America. We don't muzzle people for telling uncomfortable truths. What I said on air was analysis, based on information from credible sources. If President Traoré doesn't like it, he's welcome to challenge the facts. But suing me for $90 million. That's not justice. That's intimidation." His lawyer, Michael Rosen, leaned in discreetly and whispered, "Keep it focused. Don't turn this into a spectacle." Patel gave a slight nod and turned back to the cameras. "I'm not backing down. I won't apologize for asking the hard questions. If powerful leaders think they can silence critics with big lawsuits, they pick the wrong guy." Behind him, a protester broke through the noise with a bullhorn, "You're not a journalist. You're a provocateur." Another voice from the crowd shouted, "Expose corruption. No exceptions." Rosen gently touched Patel's shoulder. "Time to go in." The two pushed through the media scrum and climbed the courthouse steps. Just before reaching the doors, Patel turned once more to face the crowd, raising his hand in a short wave that somehow felt more like a challenge than a greeting. Cameras continued to flash as the heavy courthouse doors swung open. The media, the public, and the world were watching, and neither side showed signs of blinking first. The atmosphere inside the federal courtroom was electric. Press, legal analysts, and curious citizens packed the gallery, all eyes on the high-profile defamation case now making international headlines. Two flags flanked the judge's bench, the U.S. flag and, at the judge's personal request, the flag of Burkina Faso, a rare but symbolic gesture acknowledging the international weight of the matter. The bailiff called out in a booming voice, "All rise. Court is now in session," the Honorable Judge Meredith Lang presiding. Everyone stood as Judge Lang entered, a woman known for her no-nonsense demeanor and razor-sharp legal mind. She adjusted her glasses as she sat, her gaze sweeping over the courtroom with quiet authority. "You may be seated," she said firmly, then glanced at the docket. "We are here today in Traoré vs. Patel, a civil action regarding alleged defamation with international implications. On one side, Ibrahim Traoré's legal team sat in tailored suits, coordinated and composed. Madame Coulibaly led the team, flanked by a translator and two US-based attorneys. Traoré himself, though not required to appear in person, was present, dressed in a dark charcoal suit, seated behind his team with arms folded, face unreadable. Across the aisle, Kash Patel sat with a practiced smirk, occasionally whispering to his lawyer, Michael Rosen, who was already rifling through a stack of legal pads and color-coded exhibits. Judge Lang looked directly at both tables. "Let me be clear. This courtroom is not a political theater. It is a forum for truth, evidence, and law. I will tolerate no grandstanding." Coulibaly rose to deliver the opening statement. Her voice was measured, but each word hit with the weight of diplomacy sharpened into precision. "The defendant, Mr. Patel, used a globally syndicated platform to make specific, damaging claims that my client embezzled public funds, betrayed his country, and engaged in corrupt financial dealings. These were not questions. They were declarations. No evidence was cited. No sources were shown. These statements have now reached millions." She paused, turning toward the jury box. "My client is a public figure, yes, but that does not make him a punching bag for reckless speculation. We are not here to stifle freedom of speech. We are here because speech, when weaponized without facts, can destroy reputations, destabilize leadership, and endanger lives." Rosen stood slowly for the defense, buttoning his jacket as he stepped forward. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, voice calm but assured, "we are in dangerous territory if we allow lawsuits to muzzle free expression. My client asked tough questions. He exercised a fundamental right protected by the First Amendment. Did his tone ruffle feathers? Sure. Was it impolite? Maybe. But it was commentary, political speech." He pointed subtly toward Traoré. "Mr. Traoré is not just any public figure. He is a military leader in power after a coup. Scrutiny is part of the job description." Mr. Patel's remarks were fair, grounded in geopolitical analysis, and well within legal bounds. Traoré remained still, watching. Judge Lang interjected, eyes narrowing slightly. The distinction between protected opinion and defamatory accusation is what we are here to determine. Counsel, proceed with evidence. Court clerks began distributing documents. Screens lit up with clips from the original broadcast. A hush fell over the room as Patel's words echoed again, this time inside a courtroom that felt more like a global stage. The trial had begun, and no one was leaving early.